Hey everybody, welcome back to Flyin Miata. Today we are installing a Cipher steering wheel on an ND Miata. The only component of the steering wheel is the steering wheel. Everything else that's missing, that will transfer over from the existing steering wheel. Now for our tools. We're gonna have a little bit of blue tape for making sure we get our alignment just right. A couple sockets on ratchets. We have a 10mm and a 21mm socket. And then we have an assortment of precision prying instruments for getting those pesky covers off. First things first, we got to worry about safety. We're dealing with airbags in this install, and we do not want the airbag to go off. So step number one is disconnect the battery. We're going to disconnect the negative terminal using a 10mm socket. And make sure it's tucked in a way that it will not accidentally swing back over and make contact. Now it's a good idea to wait some time after disconnecting the battery. They say about 10 minutes is a good idea. That allows any electrical charges to dissipate. Another good idea is to step on your brakes a couple times. That will close the brake light circuit and hopefully discharge any remaining electrical charge. Now we want to make sure that the new wheel goes on the exact same position that the old wheel came off at. So let's take a little blue tape, tear off a piece. Now because all of this bezel trim transfers to the new wheel, it should all line up when we are done. So we'll go ahead and run a piece of tape from the wheel over onto our bezel here, and then we'll just break it where the wheel separates. So now it's time to remove the airbag. It's a difficult thing to show on camera, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. You have 3 little tabs that you depress with a small screwdriver. Once it's done, I'll take it over to the bench and show you those tabs. All right, now we got the airbag removed. We're attached by a couple wires here. I'm gonna start by disconnecting the blue wire, which is the ground for the horn. And then using a small flat blade screwdriver, we've got the 2 airbag connectors. The center black piece needs to come up before the connector can be disconnected. All right, now set this aside in a safe place. Now I'm gonna go over what I was doing over there that couldn't be seen. Through those little access holes, you can just see these black little spring tabs. And what you're doing is you are pushing down on the spring tab, and that's opening up the hole. And that allows it to pop out of place. So you got one from the left, one from the right, and one from the bottom. Now it's time to remove the steering wheel. We'll go ahead and break loose the nut with our 21mm socket. Now that we've got it broken loose, let's make sure our tape is lined back up. Let's back the nut up to where it's just a few threads remaining. The reason for that is I'm gonna pull it off, and I don't wanna have it pull so hard that I tear the wires. You can use a steering wheel puller in this situation, but just a gentle rocking back and forth usually does the trick. Now we can take our nut the rest of the way off and disconnect our electrical connector. Now carefully pull the wheel, making sure not to snag the airbag wires. We'll go take this over to the bench. All right, now for the fun part. This part can be a little tedious on NDs specifically, but we got to pull all the little trim pieces off so they can be transferred over to the new wheel. We're going to start with this front center chrome trim piece. You look inside the ring here, we've got a couple tabs. They just peg into the rubber of the wheel, and that needs to be pulled out. So you can kind of do that by hand, or you might consider using some trim tools. The thing to be careful on is not to scratch any of your pieces. If you need to wrap stuff in tape or other protective material, please do that. But we'll go ahead and work this out. We also have 3 little tabs down below here. This is all one piece. There we go. Okay, there's the top 2 pieces. Just have to be careful at the bottom here. And there we go. 3 bottom trim tabs, 2 upper trim tabs, and we got our center ring out. Now we're going to move on to the next piece, which is the black plastic that is the backing of the wheel. Similar to the front piece, it is just tabbed into place. So we just need firm, even pressure to work it out of the rubber that holds it into place. All right, and that step is done. Now we're on to our last pieces, which is the controls. Similar scenario. They just press into place, but you want to be careful where you press to not damage the buttons. Now that we have access, we could also push from the back side anywhere you might see the connector pushing through. All right, got that one liberated. Also have a couple little wiring clips. You can either use a small pair of pliers or just to press each side with a small screwdriver to get that out. Go and get the other side. And the other side of the buttons here. Okay, I lied. There is more pieces. We got these 3 springs for the airbag horn button. We got to transfer those over to the new wheel as well. Be careful so you don't launch them across the room as you pull them off. Okay. Now let's go ahead and look at the differences here. On the right side, you see the factory wheel, fairly plain and ordinary. And over here on the left is the new Cipher wheel with ergonomic grips that fit your hands into a more aggressive and form-fitting pattern. All right, and the installation is the opposite of removal. So just make sure and get everything in its place, especially remember the little clips for the wiring. Make sure everything's held up real nice. You might want to wait on doing the clips so after you got the buttons in place. Otherwise you don't have enough slack. All right, we are ready to go back in. Let's go ahead and get the wheel installed. Feed your wires through. Line things up. Remember, make sure and line up your blue tape. Nope, that's not quite right. Go ahead and get our nut in place. The nut is torqued to 36 foot-pounds. Get your multi-function controls plugged in. All these wires go to the airbag, so we'll do that next. Make sure your black tabs are still up, because that will make it hard to get them on. And also make sure your airbag's oriented the correct direction. Get them plugged in here. Now push your black tabs down. Those lock it in place. And don't forget your horn wire, which is the big blue one. It goes up on this tab here. Now, as we push it into place, you'll feel some resistance as you're overcoming those spring tabs. but you should feel them all click. Make sure it's not popping off in any direction. And we're good there. We can now remove our tape and hook up our battery. All right, that wraps up this install. Thanks for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed what you've seen. If you have any questions or comments, please give us a call or send us an email. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our Facebook page and YouTube channel. We'll catch you next time.